Adonai Yeshua Elam Kavir Katechasera. Adonai Tzavot Imanu Miskam Lanu Elohei Yaakov Sera. Adonai Tzavot Ashrei Adamotei Arba. Adonai Hoshia Melech Yanenu V'Yom Korenu. LaYehudim Hayta Orah, Hayta Orah, V'Simcha, V'Sason V'Ikar. Ken Tiyeh Lanu. There was light unto the Jews, and there's joy and happiness, and that's what we're going to make right now. Good Oz vezimra beyada. Strengthen song. Miriam tirko gitanu lehagil zimrat olam. Song of the world. Miriam tirko gitanu letake haolam. Shavuot tov, may you have a good week. May you find the happiness you seek. Shavuot tov, may your week be fine. May it be as sweet as the Sabbath wine. Shavuot tov, by our very own Jeff Klepper.
And Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
I may need a little help.
We need little match fairies. That's what we need. To come in and light the candles for us. He's got the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns on fire. I mean, everything.
Torah was acquitted to fire.
Yeah. Yes.
This is true. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adikner shel yom tov. Keep it going. It's the sound of Sukkos.
That's a nice sound. Very nice.
Yes, it's the rabbi. Ami loves to hear the sound of Sukkot, which is the first festival. That's a Sinai melody, and this is a Sinai melody also from the Middle Ages, really, not really from Sinai, but from Europe. But I think this is my favorite melody because it means we're ready for summer. So. Let's join together in Shekianu, because we were supposed to do that when we first light the candles. We were supposed to do a Shekianu, so I just remembered that. Let's just join me, everybody. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam service on page 130. Page 130. We rise for the Baruch Hu if we are able. Thank you, Rabbi. 204. 204. We have many options. It said choose your own adventure service. So we rise if we are able. Page 204.
Thank you.
Amen.
So Shavuot is really the continuation and the finalization of Passover. It's basically one holiday. And the rabbis link that to by the two festivals by, of course, the counting of the Omer. That is an indication that the two holidays are one. That's the whole point. Count down on the second night of Passover, you reach 49 days. On the 50th day, it's Shavuot. And it makes sense in terms of the philosophy too, because Passover is about the liberation. Shavuot is about the giving of the Torah at Sinai. Liberation, that's what Passover symbolizes, and Shavuot symbolizes law, responsibility. And one without the other doesn't go. It doesn't, it's just incomplete. So, I like to say, our Jews in the United States. It's hard to miss Shavuot in Israel, but it's not too hard in the United States, and many more Jews observe Passover than Shavuot, and they only get half the idea. It's only half the idea. It's liberation, which is kind of an American thing anyway. Like, Americans prefer the freedom part and not the responsibility part, and so it's kind of consistent that we do the Passover thing. It's by far the most popular holiday, but the responsibility, that's something else. So that's what we're doing here today. And so they're developed a tradition to so honor the Torah that you did what was called a tikkun el Shavuot. You studied Torah in honor of the Torah. And some people do it all night. It's become more and more popular. Some of our neighbors are doing it all night. We used to do it until midnight before the pandemic. You guys remember, right? We did multiple classes here. We're going back to that next year. All of you online, we're going back to that next year. And so it's customary to teach. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to do my thing here, then we're going to rush home, and we've got all of the other clergy who are going to do all of the rest online, Zoom. So it will be not till midnight, but it'll be till about 9:30 or something like that. We start at 8, so do that. I want to focus on, of course, Shavuot commemorates the giving of the law, and the centerpiece of the law is the Ten Commandments, and so look up what is happening there. It's in Exodus chapter 20. I'll just read you one verse and two different interpretations that I thought are pretty cool. So the Hebrew says, V'chol ha'am, so the Ten Commandments are given. And if you remember, the mountain is filled with smoke and lightning and thunder and the sound of the shofar. It's about as much drama as the ancients could envision, because it was pre the age of fireworks and laser shows. So this was kind of like the most that the ancients, the most drama and light and sound that the ancients could imagine, and that's what is being described when the Ten Commandments were given. So the text actually says, this is verse 15 in the book of Exodus, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, and the entire people, all of the people, they saw the sounds, parentheses, of thunder. Okay, that's what was, those are the sounds. Ve'et halapidim, and lightning, and the voice of the shofar, ve'et kol hashofar, ve'et hahar Hashem. So they heard the sounds of thunder and lightning and the shofar, and they saw the sounds of lightning, thunder, shofar, the mountain smoking, and when the people saw it, they trembled and they stood away. They stood afar. And so the rabbis, the midrash, picked up on this kind of interesting turn of phrase, ro'im et hakolot. They see the sounds, and they said that needs to be interpreted. What does that mean? The mainstream, Rashi, for example, talks about how they literally could see the sounds. They literally could see the sounds. All their senses were engaged simultaneously, as if it was a single perception. They saw what should normally only be heard, but because they were on Mount Sinai in the heat of this revelation, where God reveals God's self, the senses became much more open, and they literally saw what is normally only heard, because in our temporal world, in our limited world, we can only sense through the limitations of our senses. We can't see sounds normally. Now, I don't know if you have something to add on this, Cantor Singer, but I have seen, and there are musicians who tell us from time to time they literally see sounds.
Yes.
Nahon?
Yes.
I don't know if that's ever,
Yes.
if that goes through your minds, but like musicians sometimes in these moments of transcendence.
Oliver
You wanna say a word about
Oliver
that?
Sacks wrote about it.
Yeah, there were people with perfect pitch hear them as colors. And not all of them, but some of them describe them in terms of different, having specific colors in the spectrum. But there's also the translation, there's technology that translates audio into light, into three-dimensional light. And it was demoed to us in my undergrad by this music scientist using his hands and stuff. It was kind of wild technology. It was from Australia, and I just remember witnessing this, and it was kind of they created art from the audio in the room.
So we now have modern technology that can kind of help us. I was with it's amazing what technology can do. I was with an ALS patient recently who communicated through a computer screen where she only could blink her eyes. So, but of course, we're talking about a general opening up of the senses. That is what is being described, according to the rabbis, in the event of Mount Sinai. And that's why the text says they saw the sounds. They saw the sounds. They saw it all. They saw what was supposed to be seen, but they also saw what was only supposed to be heard and is only able to be heard in any other place but in and around Mount Sinai. And that indicates kind of what religion tries to do, and other art forms, which is to pry open the limitations of our senses and to try and reach a higher level of understanding through a much greater receptivity of our senses. That is the point of religion. It's not only religion, music tries to do that, poetry tries to do that, but religion too. There's a very poignant statement in the Talmud that says every time the Torah is studied and celebrated, something of the original revelation can be experienced. And so the point here is when we study Torah, hopefully, once in our lives, we'll be able also to see the sounds, not only to hear the sounds. The second interpretation that I want to bring to your attention is the text says, "V'chol ha'am ro'im et ha'kolot." The entire people saw the kolot. And now, in a literal sense, kolot simply means sounds, the voices. They saw the voices. They saw the sounds, but kolot is written in plural. So the rabbis wanted to know, what does that mean? Why not just ro'im et hakol? They see the sound. Why the kolot? And what is it referring to? Because in the other interpretation, and what seems to be the literal understanding of the text, the kolot, the sounds, refers to what? The thunder and the shofar. Right. Everything that was going to be heard. So what is the kolot here? The rabbis interpret this as not literally the literal understanding of the Torah verse, that is the sounds of thunder, but rather they heard the voices, kolot, voices of the Almighty, the voices of God. And why in the plural? Why did they hear the voices of God? The rabbis say each person at Sinai and forevermore hears in accordance with his or her sensibilities and their own receptivity. That is, the voice of God contracted to fit human limitations, and each human being is different. And so, therefore, they heard different voices. And the proof text, by the way, Cantor Singer, is Psalm 29 that we recite every Shabbat, every Kabbalat Shabbat, where one of the texts there says, Kol Adonai Ba'koach, the voice of God is heard through Ba'koach, power, strength. Not bekocho, through God's power, but just power that is in accordance with each individual's own capacities. Young adults according to their strength, older adults according to their strength and capacities. In other words, the 10 commandments are given, or 613 commandments according to the Jewish tradition are given, and each of them is heard in a multiple myriad of voices because each person is different, each heard in accordance with their own capacities and receptivities. And that's just the way it is in human affairs. We all look at things in a different way because we're all different people. So if you take any text, any code, any legal code, it's the reason why people argue over the interpretation of law, because they perceive different meanings to it. It's why you can witness the same event and two different people have two different interpretations as to what actually happened. That's the whole point of a trial, for example, right? And so, like you take, for example, I don't know if you saw that some guy in the Louvre last week tried to deface the Mona Lisa. So that got me, it didn't work, okay? Because the Mona Lisa is protected by bulletproof glass.
Someone else caught it.
Okay, but nonetheless, he did it to garner attention, and here I am talking about it. But in any case, I'm not talking about him. What that reminded me of an example of what I'm talking about. The Mona Lisa is the Mona Lisa. Okay, it doesn't change. If you see it and you see it and you see it, it's the same picture. It's the identical picture. Each of us perceives the Mona Lisa in a different way, and it speaks to us in a different way. That's the kolot. That's the multiple voices. And that fundamentally is the Jewish approach to everything. And I want to suggest to you that that fundamentally is the core of liberalism. It's why Judaism, from that perspective, not necessarily from every perspective, but fundamentally, from that perspective, is a very intellectually and communally pluralistic and liberal philosophy, because it recognizes and elevates the desirability, the reality and the desirability of kolot, different voices that all come to some harmony. And our task in life is to harmonize these different voices, not to suppress the different voices. And that's essentially the Jewish mindset. That's what we try to do. That is the whole point of studying Torah and living Torah as a living tradition in our daily lives. And now you know the two interpretations of Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 15. Chag Sameach.
Thank you. That was great.
So I think when we wrote our Torah, you used the last commandment in the Torah. You marked it with the last commandment, which was Ve'ata kitvu lachem et hashira hazot. So writing in a song, you know, that we think of Torah as a song. I think that's a beautiful interpretation. So with this, we're
Continue with the Elena.
going to continue with the Elena.
On page 322 and we rise.
Alleluia, Shabbat
out loud or in your hearts or on the live stream, please do so now. We join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach ruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayekom u'yomekom u'v'chayei beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kamim v'yivru amen. V'hei shmei Rabbah v'rach ve'lam lameh amaya. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yipa'ar v'yitrolam v'yisaseh. V'yithajar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei v'yishal v'richu. Le'ela v'kol birkata v'shirata. Tushbetata v'nehemata. V'aviran ve'alma v'yivru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah Yisrael. V'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael. V'yivru amen. Aseh shalom b'molav. V'yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael. V'yivru amen. May the one who creates calmly on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. To which we say amen.
Amen.
Semantics, I think it is. There's all you can do with ancient technology as well. The audio can turn. Different tones have specific structures to them. In the sand, on a plate of sand, it will turn the sound on different tones will turn into different patterns. Semantics, is it called, or something like that?
I know, there is. That all of our
Isn't that fascinating?
it's not just musicians.
And that's
Whereas, because he wrote just about the
That's
brain.
the essence of
Where people
religious
sometimes
I love the
completely
visual of
see,
that
like,
is often
this sound
interpreted
is
as
green.
people are crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy.
No,
And
that's-
most of the musicians, they may not
And
have
sometimes-
any.
No,
That's crazy.
there are people who have perfect
Because
pitch
they
art
are
musicians.
so
Yeah, it's
removed
very
from
Right, no,
the
there's-
general
They do.
indication
have
of
music
the
on the
senses.
brain like he does. Remember
That's
that
it.
article was in
Yeah.
the science section of the Times a number of years
All right.
ago. You have
Good to
music
see
on the
you.
brain.
All right.
He does too. There's always a humming.
Goodbye,
There's
everyone.
something-
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Next year,
That's it.
cheesecake.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, double cheesecake next year, because
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
gotta
know,
make up for
Tommy,
4 years
why
of
was it
cheesecake,
so
Tommy.
low-key this year?
You know,
Because
because we had this surge 6 weeks ago when we were planning
Right.
for what we were going to do.
It's so hard to plan.
And
Right,
we
it
figured,
is so
we
hard.
figured people would appreciate
Right,
mine rather than
absolutely. But
food.
this is
still
a-
live?